last class, what are we discussing about? Types of inheritance. Okay. So last class we were discussing about what are the types of inheritances in Pega and what is the purpose of each of this inheritance. Can anyone tell me what is the purpose of pattern inheritance in Pega?
Are we recording?
Within the same class, it has to accept
within the same application.
So
If you want
to
to
access
within the
access
same
with your
function,
same class within the
same application.
in the same application.
within the application,
yeah,
we can go for
accessing
the
the
pattern.
different classes from current application. Within application, if we want to access higher level classes, then that can be done by using pattern inheritance. Okay. So next one is direct inheritance. What is the purpose of direct inheritance?
If you want to
What is the relation between the classes
another
uh,
application,
Another
from the
application
current and the build-on
can access
application?
all the classes.
What is another application means?
Built on application.
Build-on application.
Built-on application.
OOTB classes.
Correct. To access the functionalities of built-on application classes into current application, we need direct inheritance. We need direct inheritance. That is the purpose of direct inheritance. Okay. So Pega, why Pega has two different inheritances? What is the reason? Why not only one inheritance? Why Pega comes up with two different inheritances?
As the name says,
To access within the application and also access outside the application. Built on
application as well as Pega provided OOTB features and all. Definitely we need direct inheritance. So everything will not be available in the same application. Some functional components will be available in built-on applications like OOTB Pega platform and all. To access from there, definitely we need one more inheritance called direct inheritance. Which inheritance is mandatory in Pega? Direct inheritance.
Direct
inheritance.
What is the class in Pega which does not have any parent class in any of the inheritances?
Base class.
Abstract class.
Base class.
Base class is topmost class in Pega which does not have any parent classes. Okay. And which class in our application does not have a pattern parent? Organization. Organization class of our application doesn't have any parent class. Clear everyone? Okay. So next we are going to stop this here, the OOPS concepts for now. Whatever we have learned so far, like inheritance concept or built-on application, this current application concept, whatever we have discussed about all these, we need to practically apply these things when we are going to work with practical business requirements. So given a business requirement, as a developer, one should be able to understand and identify the context where to create that functional component. Context means, see here, in which context. Suppose if you are being given with a requirement to create user interface screen, one screen is been one screen you have to create. Now you need to, before you start creating itself, understanding the business requirement, understanding the business overall, you should have to identify the context where to create. So there are three parameters in the context, but as of now we know only two parameters. What are those two? Application and class. Application and class. So we will be focusing on, listen to me carefully in this aspect, three layers of classes. Three layers, not levels, layers. Okay, I will tell you what are those. First one, application context means we have two applications so far. One is framework, another one is implementation. Out of these two, in which context we should create, that should be identified by developer only. That should be identified by developer only, based on the business and business requirement. Second one is class context. I will tell you 3 levels. You just focus on these 3 levels or 3 layers. One is, you don't repeat with me, okay, listen to me carefully. One is organization class. Second one is framework work class, and third one is implementation work class. We are not going to focus on anything in between like divisions and all. 3 levels of layers: organization layer, framework work layer, and implementation work layer. Out of these 3, where to create? That's what the basic level understanding that we should have. Okay, so 2 context parameters we are known about so far. One is application context. So in which application context we should be creating implementation or framework, that should be decided. After you decide this one of these 2, then you have now 3 classes levels, that is organization, framework, work, implementation. Out of these 3, which one is most suitable, okay, as per the business requirement and business overall? So that we need to identify. So let me tell you what are we going to further discuss about and work on. So today is June 9th. See, today Friday, right? Tomorrow there will not be any class. So what about your mock test? Did they assign you any mock test? No, right? Today they will assign you mock exam, which you have to complete tomorrow evening. Okay, they will be assigning you mock test on this application context, inheritance concept, inheritance concept. This will be the mock test you can take the exam tomorrow whenever you are free. Okay, revise once and then take your exam. Okay, let's go ahead now. Here you go. June 9th today, and we are going to work on all this like user interface, business logic, and database and process. Are all of this will be covered, and there are so many other rules that we are going to discuss about. See, as a beginner, we are going to begin learning Pega with user interface. We are going to learn this PRPC starting from UI so that you can easily understand. See, I will open one document and show you. Just wait. Here are documents, hard copy of documents, and here you go with. See, this is how typically it works. Let me explain you. It's not only about Pega, any web technologies, so which have full stack development and all with UI, business logic, and database. See, as a developer, you work on creating user interface. As a developer, you will be working on creating user interface. Okay, so this is where you go with UI. See how a UI looks like. See here, let's say Facebook sign up. Facebook sign up. Okay, so create a Facebook account. Otherwise, create a Facebook account. I'm sorry, how do I get it's logged in? I'll take a private window. Hold on. Okay, so this is what is this? I'm getting sign up. Okay, so here you go. This is user interface form. The one what you see here is UI form. In UI form, you have first it is requesting for the data from the customer, like first name, surname, mobile number, password, date of birth, gender, all this. So these are called as controls. What are these called as? Controls. These are user interface controls. So this UI, entire user interface is there, right? This is called as HTML form. What is this called as? HTML form. if a common citizens of the citizens, if they wanted to interact with any software application, it will be easy for them to understand only HTML forms. If we display business logic or if we are showing them queries and all, database queries, they cannot understand. So it is easy to understand. మీరు మార్నింగ్ 7 o'clock 6:55 రండి, 7 or 6:55 రండి, వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఇక్కడ కూర్చోండి. అర్థమైందా? ఎన్నిసార్లు చెప్పించుకుంటారు మీరు? ఒక ప్రాసెస్ ఉందంటే అది ఫాలో అవ్వాలి ఖచ్చితంగా. అర్థమైందా? నాకు సౌండ్ వచ్చినందువల్ల పెద్ద ప్రాబ్లం ఏం లేదు. నేను చెప్పాను ఇంటి దగ్గర నుంచి అటెండ్ అవ్వండి. ఇక్కడ వరకు రావడం ఎందుకు క్లాస్కి? ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి అక్కడ కూర్చునే బదులు ఇంటి దగ్గర నుంచి అటెండ్ అవ్వచ్చు కదా. ట్రావెల్ చేయాల్సిన పని ఉండదు, అనుకోవాల్సిన పని ఉండదు. So here you go now. This is a user interface form. These are HTML fields, HTML controls. Overall it is HTML form. We can easily understand HTML. See, anyone who is even not literate, who do not have a proper education also, they can easily understand the applications. See, simply today everyone, if they want to pay money when they do purchase and all, they are simply scanning some code and making the payments. For that they should not be an educated person or something. Okay, so even a fruit seller, flower seller, everyone, they have these applications being used. So it is very easy to understand. If you want to design user interface, then you are going to write HTML coding as a developer normally when you are working with UI. But in Pega we don't need to write any such coding. Okay, here you go now. This UI form has controls. This controls holds data in the HTML. See, if you're going to enter details here, okay, first name, last name, like this, and so details, if you're going to enter, data is going to be held in the web form by HTML controls. HTML controls holds data in the UI level. So if you are supplying that, there should be something to hold, right? There should be someone to hold. If I am going to give a book, okay, so I should have to give it to someone should hold it. Okay, so in the UI, HTML controls holds the data. So the data that is being held by UI, if I enter all the details, if I click on sign up, what will happen? This data will be taken and it will get stored. It will get stored into a permanent storage place. A permanent storage place. Next time when I come to Facebook, I don't need to register again. I just have to do what? Login. When I log in, system will recognize automatically this person is already registered with us. How system will recognize? Because the data supplied in the past was being permanently stored. Where it will get stored? That's the question. So the data will get stored. Those who do not know anything about technology, you can understand. Into database. What is it? Data will get stored into database. See, UI. So we supply data through web forms. That is the purpose of UI. And database is a permanent storage where data gets stored in the form of tables. I will show you what is the table and all. Okay, so here you go. Okay, so see here, you even you know Excel, right? So if you know Excel also, that is okay. So I can open any image here and show. See here on the right hand side, here you can see. Okay, here you can see, this is what a table means. See, this is a customer table, customer ID, first name, last name. These are called as columns, these are called as rows. So in any technology, every technology, we will have user interface. In every business application, we will have user interface technology being used and a database being used. What are the databases? Oracle, SQL Server, IBM DB2, and Postgres SQL Server, MySQL, MongoDB, and there are so many. PLSQL and technology. Okay, server gal. So now this is what a database server is required. Server stores the information into the database, where database holds the data in the form of tables. Okay, this is how it works. Okay, just for your information I'm giving. I think many of you are already aware of all these things. Okay, but still if you don't know, learn now. See, data will flow from front end. Front end means user interface. User interface we also call it as front end, to up to back end. Back end means database. Front end to back end. How it will flow? In the front end, who is holding the data? HTML controls. In the back end, who is holding the data? Database tables. So front end, what is holding data? HTML controls. Back end, what is holding data? Database tables. And in between, what happens now? See here now. Here you go. Whenever the design I'm showing, so any web application, see HTML fields will be there, data you will enter and click on submit. The moment you submit, data will flow from user interface to next level, next layer, called as business logic layer, where coding will be there. Java coding, C# coding, okay, COBOL coding, and maybe other VB coding, C language code, any coding it can be, coding language. So UI data will flow and it will go into business logic coding. So at the coding level, someone should be holding right data. So UI is supplying data to the next level. At the next level, there should be something to hold that data. So that is called as variables. What is it called as? Variable means one, variables means multiple. Okay. So if I enter first name, last name, date of birth, age, 4 fields I am entering, for example, and I submit these 4 fields data to be handed over to the business logic. How many variables we need at this business logic? 4 variables we need generally, ideally speaking. Okay, 4 variables. So one field will be handed over, value will be handed over to one variable. 4 variables are taking data. Okay, so at the business logic, who is going to hold the data? Variables. And this will be next level handed over and stored into table. How a database can be interacted? A database can be interacted by using SQL queries. What is that? So database, okay, business logic takes data from UI and holds on its variables. Okay, so variables, and database is the one where data gets stored. So can interact with database by using SQL, means structured query language. Okay, SQL queries, we call it as SQL queries. So here I've just shown you just a high level. So SQL queries like insert query, select query, I will tell about all these things later. Like this, the data will be framed into a query. Query will hit the database. I'm not explaining in detail connections and all, no, don't bother about it now. So the data will get stored into table. Okay, so 3 levels you need to focus on. One is user interface. In the UI, you enter the data into HTML controls. HTML controls holds the data. For that, we don't need to write any coding. And after you submit, data will go to business logic. Variables holds the data in the business logic. This is very generalized, not only related to Pega, any web technologies. Okay, from business logic, queries will get prepared by the developer, and that will be hitting the database and stores the data into tables. That's the process. Reverse also same, database to logic, logic to database. Okay, that we can discuss later. So here you go now. Let me close this. Let me go here. So here you go now. See, I told you in the user interface, if you are going to give the data to HTML controls, that will be handed over to variables. 4 UI controls are there. 4 variables are there. Which control value to be handed over to which variable? That is a question. See here, I will show you in Pega. I will show you. So to explain you, I will log into already developed application. Okay. To explain you this, what am I going to do? I'm going to log into already developed application. Okay. So Deva MPL at 3.8. The previous batch is okay. Signal. Okay. So already developed application. I'm going to log in. In case of Pega, I'm explaining you now. We are going to work on user interface. See here now. So if I open a UI form, you don't need to focus on this navigations. That's not required now. You need to focus only on the concept. So today only theory. Maybe we cannot get into the practical mostly. Okay, so here you go. This is UI control. So I'm just showing you like this. Here you go. So this is UI form. For this, the design I am showing here. This is runtime UI form. So if you're going to enter data here, okay, if you're going to enter data here, and after you click on submit or continue, this data to be handed over to variables, correct? So two variables are there. For example, these two fields are there. Which field value to be given to which variable? So field 1, field 2, HTML field 1, HTML field 2, variable 1, variable 2. Field 1 to be given to variable 1 or 2. How does the system knows? Field 2 value to be given to variable 1 or 2. For that, see here, for your information, every field that we add will be mapped to one variable. Means one HTML control and variable both are connected. Both are connected. So if you have a field that is been mapped to one variable, the field value will be handed over to respective variable. So here you go. In Pega, if you want to add these controls and all, you don't need to do anything. You just need to drag and drop. You just need to do what? Drag and drop. When I drag and drop, this particular field doesn't have any variable associated. Every HTML field will have, not everything, button may not have a property, I mean like variable, but input field. Every HTML input field will be having one variable associated with it. The value you enter in this field at runtime will be handed over to this variable. This variable will put the value into query. Query will hit the database to store the data into table. That's what going to happen. Everyone clear at a high level understanding? Are you clear? Online students also. Are you clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello,
Now,
Harsha.
yes.
Can you just repeat the same thing again?
What do you want me to repeat?
How does it store as a variable?
This diagram you need to look at.
Yeah.
So
How do
in the UI, you enter the data. Every UI control is been associated with one variable. I will practically show you how to do it. The value entered in UI field will be handed over to that particular variable in the business logic. From there, queries will get generated. Okay, in Pega, it will get generated. In other technologies, you have to write manually, but in Pega, it will automatically generate. These queries will hit the database and stores the data into the tables. Okay, clear? So that's what. See, if you are going to work on user interface creation, remaining you don't need to develop in Pega. Remaining already it will be automatically generating the code. It will be generating the queries. Already tables are created at the time new application is created and data will store into table. If you create UI and then that is business logic and database both are done. Both are done already. That will be generated automatically. This is already got created. Okay, I will show you that, and this will get generated automatically. That is the advantage of working with Pega. So in other programming language, what you need to do? UI forms you design. Respect to business logic, you have to write. In the business logic, queries you have to write. Tables DBS will create. Open database connection and hitting the database, all that logic you have to write as a developer. Okay, but in Pega, all that is not required. You deal with UI, completed, make it part of transaction, then business logic will get generated, queries will get generated. It knows where to store exactly. We should go there and see whether it is stored or not. Okay, clear everyone? Okay, so here you go now. See, variables and all the terminology, whatever I have used, that is a generic terminology. Universally, you call it as a variable in C language or Java or CPP anywhere. Okay, but coming to Pega, the terminology is different. See, we are going to work on user interface, right? How do you make your user interface being part of transaction model? How you design transaction model in BPM or Pega? Like a flowchart. So you, after you create UI, you must be creating process. Okay, process or flow. You call it as process or flow, or you may call it as workflow. Anything is okay. It defines what? Transaction model. It defines transaction model. The user interface you created, you have to embed that into transaction. When you initiate transaction, what happens? UI will be invoked and it will be displayed. So UI you created, you have placed that UI in the flow. Execute flow, flow will call UI. Flow will call UI. When UI displayed, you enter data and submit. Then that will be taken into database. Business logic will get generated, queries will get generated. It will store into respective tables in the backend. Okay, makes sense? Everyone clear? So process or flow also we are going to deal with. So initially we are going to deal with UI. I will go to the existing one, existing user interface, existing application. See how, so now we have discussed about only two. One is UI, second one is variables. Out of these two, suppose given a requirement to design user interface, HTML form and variables. Out of these two, which one you are going to create first? What is the order? UI variables or variables UI? Which one you create?
UI.
Variables and then
UI
UI.
variables.
UI variable.
UI.
First you need to be ready
UI
with.
variable.
First we need to be
UI
ready with
and then variables.
variables. Variables you create and be ready. Then you create UI. At the time of creating UI, you add controls, right? When adding variable, you should map it to variable. So first thing is to create what? Variable.
Property.
What? Hmm? Come again. See, you wanted to create user interface, add the controls, map each control to one variable, correct? At the time of creating UI, you will be mapping. At the time of creating UI, if you are going to map to variables, by that time variable should be available or not? It should be available, right? So first you be ready with variables and then you go with UI.
Mapping.
Okay. See, you are being given with a requirement to create a form. Yes, please.
Sir, the user interface, first we have to create our variables we have to create.
Variables you have to create. First, what is that you have to create?
Without user
Variable.
interface, we have not created now. I have small doubt.
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Without interface, user interface, we have not created variables now. First, user interface will be there now.
No, I did not say that, right? First, you need to be ready with variables. Okay. Once you have variables ready, then you create UI. At the time of creating, you map each control to variable. That's the point you need to know about. So next one, variable should be created first and then UI. See, you see Pega has many OOTB variables, many OOTB variables. If you want to create a variable to hold first name, actually you don't need to create that. You need to use it from the OOTB. Not only this, there are so many will be available. As a beginner, we are not going to start using OOTB directly. First, we will see how to create these things from the scratch. While mapping with variable in background, does it automatically drive the data? It will automatically drive the data. Okay, at runtime, it will automatically drive the data. Okay, now variables and all, many are already available in Pega. You don't need to actually create everything. First name variable, it will be common for many different applications, right? Okay, that's why it is available. Specific to your business, Pega cannot know about all these things. Generic email ID, is it generic or not? Generic variable. Phone number, zip code, It is also generic. Last name, surname. Okay, country, state, city. Okay, these are all like this. So many generic variables it can identify and it can provide by default. But still, we are not going to use those now. We will be creating by ourselves. And specifically for your business, definitely you have to create. There is no doubt about it. But we are going to learn from the scratch. We are going to see how to create everything by ourselves. Okay, for some time. And now, see here, this user interface has been created and variables are being mapped. See, generally, in universally, the concept of variable holds a data, correct? Variable holds a data. Variable holds a data. Any data holds some data. Okay, holds data. Data means value only. Okay, so variable will have a name. Variable will have a name. Variable will be associated with type. Type means at the time of creating variable itself, a developer should decide to define it, like whether it can hold a value, what type of value, that a variable can hold. Okay, that is integer, text value, or decimal value, or date value, or date time value, etc. Like this. So what type of value? At the time of creating a variable, you should decide what is the name of the variable, what is the type of the variable, and when you take it to UI, how it will be visible in UI, how a variable should appear in the UI. In the UI, how it should be appear? Is it a text input control? I'll tell you about the controls. See here. So this is called text input control. Okay, this is also text input. Actually, this is radio buttons, but I have changed its appearance to be segmented. Actually, radio buttons looks like this. See, if you cannot hear my voice, you need to reconnect. Others can hear. Please reconnect. Okay, so here you go. You don't need to learn about these navigations now. Just focus on the concept. This is how. Radio buttons means like this. Okay, so radio buttons looks like this, and this is a calendar plus drop down. Calendar plus drop downs. Okay, I will show you here. Here you go. If I run the flow, I can show you at runtime. So this is a drop down. Actually, these values are not coming. Data is not there. This is a drop down. This is text input. This is radio button, but here it is segmented. You can have radio buttons also. Okay, and this is button control. Like this in UI, we have controls. So UI control. So a variable is associated with a control, right? How this should be appear also can be decided at the time of creation. Variable will have a name. It holds data. Variable holds data. It will have a name. It will have type, and it will be associated with UI control. Even many other things which we can discuss later. The variable terminology is universal in every programming language, but coming to Pega, we call a variable is equal to property. What is it called as? Property. Whatever I told so far, everything about variable is applicable to property. Property is just like variable in other programming language. In Pega, we call property. It is like a variable in other programming languages. It holds a value at runtime. It has a name. It has a type, text type, integer type, decimal type, date time, like that. It will be associated with UI control, drop down, radio button, hyperlink button, or maybe anything like text input. Okay, like this. And it is, that is how it is going to appear at runtime. Okay, I will show you property in Pega. Don't bother about navigations for now. Just only focus on the concept. Yes, please. Someone was trying to ask something.
Yeah, Harsha, I saw in the previous screen that PY name, that means property name, PY class. That's how it is.
See, anything I am not going to tell you now. Just ignore it. Only focus on whatever I am teaching till next 1 month. Okay.
Okay.
I know exactly at what moment what to be covered. I will cover that. Okay. See here, this is what. See, if I am going to create a variable, okay, that means property in Pega, you will be providing a name. For example, first name. What is that? I am giving one more E because already first name is there. So not to prevent going forward. See, when I give variable name, property name with spaces, here without spaces it is coming. This is label, display name. This is ID. This is ID. So here you go to the context. Here you go with, in the context you have 1, 2, 3 parameters are there. I did not tell you about third parameter. So we will be learning this in future. For some time, you have to follow the screenshot for this. But these two you should have understand. Given if you are going to create anything in Pega, you should be creating in the context of application, some application. You want to create in implementation application context, or you want to create in framework application context. So which one you need to choose accordingly, that you will come to know only based on business requirement and having good business knowledge. Okay. And apply to these are classes. If you click on view all and you click the down arrow, you can see here so many classes which we have created and available. In which class you want to create, in which application, in which class. These two combination you should be able to know only when you know about the business. At the time of giving you requirements, a business analyst is going to give you requirements drafted, right? They will upload into a tool called, what is the tool name? Jira. What is the tool name? Jira tool they will upload. You need to download it from the Jira tool, and in the requirements, all the details will be given pretty much clearly. In which, what is the name of the property, what type of value it should hold, and how it should appear in the UI. That will be given, but in which application context to be created, in which class to be created, business will not tell you about, because business do not know about technology. They don't know about technical aspects. Suppose if you are non-technical person, you will just to say the business requirement. You do not tell them that create an organization class or something, because you are not knowing about all these things, right? So that's why a developer should have knowledge about all these things. After you get inside while creating, here you can see property type. By default, when you create a property, what is the type? Text property. And control text import, if you click the down
Harsha.
arrow on your key, hold on, let me finish, I'll get back. You will see so many different controls available. You can choose one of the control as per your business requirement. You will be choosing one of the control as per your business requirement. And then table type and all I will tell you. See here, for example, imagine I am creating gender. Gender will have radio buttons, right? Let's say if I'm reading radio button or drop down, anything, it will have values, right? Male, female, prefer not to say, something like this. Those values you can define as a local list. Those values you can define as a local list. Here, if I write male only, I will get only one radio button at runtime. If I also write female, how many radio buttons I will be getting at runtime? To here, given you have radio button control. Okay, radio buttons control. If I write one more value, then okay, you will be having how many? 3 control cells. If I write 10 values here, 10 radio buttons will come automatically at runtime based on the values. Everyone clear about basic details about property? Now, what is the question? Female student who was trying to ask something.
How we know whether the variable with our name is present or not?
Yes, see, the variable which you are trying to look for, you know the name, first name, okay, search here. It is available, it will show in the result, otherwise it will not show. Okay. So for that you need an application KT. Okay, if you know the current application what is already been developed, you'll come to know whether it is there or not. See, in your business requirements also they will tell you new requirement, enhancement, or change request. Business analyst knows about all these things, whether it is a fresh new requirement or enhancement or change request, they will tell you. So if it is enhancement or change request, sometimes it is possible things may be already available. You are just making changes or modifications. Like if it is brand new requirement, you might be creating everything from the scratch. That is also another way. I have some questions posted here on the charting window. At what stage we define flow chart? Is it completing after designing application or at the first stage? Stage by stage. You will get one requirement this week, right? This week you will embed into flow, create a flow. Next you enhance and all. Okay. See, you need to fully focus on the present topic. Don't get deviated. Don't go beyond me. Okay. So just to travel along with me. That is very, very important. At what stage okay, that's okay. And may I know what is context? Context means in which region you want to create, in which application region you want to create, in which class region you want to create. That's what they are calling it as context. Whenever you are creating something, already we discussed, right? Day one, functional components or attributes will be there inside application and not directly inside classes. Class will be inside application. So one functional component or attribute has how many regions? 2. Within application, in some class you will be placing it. In which application, which class context you wanted to place this in. Application class was not clear. What did you not understand?
Harsha, so for male, female, and preferred not to say, we will create one variable and will integrate with one of the variations. Is it
These are
correct?
radio button values for one UI, sorry, for one variable. These are UI, what are these? Values. I mean like radio button values. In UI, you will select, right, either male or female or prefer not to say. All these are associated with only one. At runtime, only one value it can hold, not 3. Okay. The person who told here context application class was not clear enough. Have you gone through the day one session about application, about classes? These two, have you gone through with diagrams and all? See, you need to ask questions. What did you understand from that when you gone through? From our documents, application, what is your understanding? Class, what is your understanding? What does it contain? That's it. To that you can
So framework application and implementation application.
That is types of applications. I'm asking about application.
Sorry?
I'm asking about application alone. I'm not asking about types of application. Application. What is your understanding about application?
Yeah, it can be.
Application can hold different classes.
No, the context thing was not the one, wasn't clear enough. Today's beginning.
About application. You understand application first of all?
Yeah.
What is the application?
Like,
what is your idea about application?
Like a framework application or a.
These types of application. I'm asking about application. Whether it is framework or implementation, it is an application, right? I'm asking only about application. Application is not a class, sir. I'm asking only about what is application. I think that is where we started our sessions. See, it is very, very important that one should have to have clear idea and understanding about the concepts. Otherwise, at the time of applying it, okay, practically, you will not be able to do it. It will be difficult. It was being told that application contains functionalities, even attributes also. But later point of time, what we realized while discussing about class contains functionalities and attributes. First I said, I have given diagrams also for the same. First I said application contains functionalities. The next day I said class contains functionality. Which one is true? Actually both are true. First today I told you high level. So class contains functional components which will come inside application, if you are creating anything, it should be created within one of the applications. We have two applications, framework, implement. Definitely if you are creating anything, it should be created inside one application, right? You will be choosing that in the context. If you go to the context, in which application you want to place it, and the next parameter is class, in which class you want to place it. You will be able to know about these things only when you are good at class 1 and class 2. So it is very easy just to read and forget, but it is not that you read and leave it. You need to clearly understand its application in the reality. That's how you need to go through it. That's what I was saying from day 1 onwards. I know last 4 days 75% of the students might not even have opened the theory document. Damn sure. Okay, I can bet on it. 75% of students, they might not have opened the theory document. Okay, if that is the case, you will not be able to understand the sessions. You will get a lot of confusion. Please remember one thing, that's only because of your lack of interest or time spending. Okay, in a proper way you are not spending. Okay, usually people will do, we say all the time, always you go through theory documents, they will not even open the theory document. Always they open practical, finish and throw away. That's it. Okay, application is composition of different classes which will have different functionalities. Perfect. Application is collection of functional components, is also perfect. So this is what about a variable, or you call it as a property in Pega. Other parameters I did not talk about. If I do not talk about anything here, that means that is not required now as a beginner. Maybe you'll be learning later. Okay, so how do you create property? So you should also know about the navigation, right? Okay, look at here now. See, anywhere you can right click on a class, you want to create, right? Something you want to create, then get into create option. You will get a menu. See, these are called categories. Create, data model, property. I will tell you one statement. Property can be created under data model category. Property can be created under which category? Data model category. Here, well, we have the details about property. Here you go. Property is just like a variable in other programming languages. It holds values. It's associated with a name, property type, and UI control. And this red color statement, you can ignore reading for now. You will be reading it later. That's what I have given at the very beginning. So the statements which are written in red color, you can ignore reading red color sentence for now. Okay, so anywhere in this document, if you find a red color statement, ignore it. And property can be created under data model category. That is one statement. This statement tells you about the navigation. What is the category in which a property can be created? Data model. Correct. Here you go, right click on this. You want to create, go to create. This is category menu. This is categories menu. Which category we have to get into in order to create property? Data model. And this is rule type. Property is a rule type. This is property. Property can be created under data model category. You understand? Similarly, if I say section can be created under user interface category. Can you tell me the navigation? First I will go to create. Section can be created under user interface category. Then what is that category I have to go to? User interface
section.
For every rule, you will find a statement like this. Property can be created under some category. Section can be created under some category. Class can be created under some category. So that will tell you about the navigation. Anyhow, I'll be giving the screenshots like this. So property, right click, create data model property. That's what given in this document. So I have written a statement. Property can be created under data model category that tells you about the navigation. Here in the theory document, navigation details are also provided. Okay, and scrolling down, you will be choosing the context. I explained about the context, right? Whenever you are creating anything in Pega, that should be placed inside some application, inside some class. Okay, and that's it. Property, here you go with name, property type. Property will have a name, property type. Okay, the type of value it can hold, UI control, table type. Next rule type we are going to discuss about is section, which is after learning how to create properties. I will tell you one requirement now. You need to give me the context details. Okay, requirement is we want to create a user interface form. Okay, the form has the fields of first name, last name, gender, let's say age, phone number, email ID. These are the fields, date of birth also. Okay, for this form to create, before you create the form, you need to come up creating properties, right? You need to create properties. Now you have to create all the properties related to this form. Where would you create? I will tell you. Hold on. In the application, you have a choice of either to go with implementation application context or framework application context. First thing, out of these two, for our business, like ours is insurance business, today we have created health insurance, sorry, auto insurance. Tomorrow we may create health insurance. Day after tomorrow we may come up with life insurance, and after that we may extend our business application to have home insurance, like that. Think about extension also in future. What is the appropriate application context to create the properties? Framework application context or
Framework.
implementation
Framework.
context?
Framework. Framework.
This framework.
Framework.
Why framework? Because
We
these
can reuse
properties
it in
are
the
very
And
future.
common that
can
can be
expand it
used
after.
other implementations also. So place it in framework. Okay, done. Okay, next class context. 3 classes I will tell you first of all. One is organization class. Second one, context of application you told, okay. Organization class. Second one is framework work class. Framework work class. Third one is implementation work class. Out of these 3, which one is most suitable?
Framework class.
Framework
Framework
work
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 class.
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 I will tell you, hold on. So far,
Framework organization class.
framework organization class and ekkada undadu. There is nothing like framework organization class. Organization is common for either framework or implementation. See, this is the class, right? You told about. If you create inside framework work class, that cannot be accessible into these levels. Above levels, it will not be accessible. Here or below, it will be accessible. Means framework, it will be accessible in work and below. Framework, different divisions are there. It will not be accessible. You need to understand that point also. Okay, implementations, all implementations, it will be accessible whichever is created on top of this framework, and inheritance is there. Now you tell me which one is most suitable.
Organization.
Organization.
The properties
Obviously,
what
organization.
is that
Organization will
very
be.
anywhere in any business, yes or no? So the most suitable class is what? Organization class. If you create an organization, it will be accessible from this corner to that corner, all divisions, all units. Okay, and all. If you create only in framework, you might be thinking like, if I place it at the top level framework, it will be accessible to all implementations. That is correct. But within framework, you have one division, right? You may have one more division. We created so far only one. Tomorrow you create one more, 2 more divisions and all. Then what about those divisions? It will not be accessible. Okay, so if you want accessible in all divisions also, then place it in top level.
Organization.
For this requirement, this is not for every requirement. Okay, I'll give you another requirement. You tell me now. You are being asked to collect the details of a vehicle identification number, primary driver of the vehicle, and what else, like model of the vehicle, manufacturing company of the vehicle, manufacturing year. These are the details. properties you need to create for this. First, come to the application context. Framework application context are in our this framework or implementation. Which one?
Implementation.
Implementation.
I mean
Implementation.
implementation.
Classes also I'll tell you 3. Organization class, framework work class, implementation work class. Which one is
Implementation work class.
Implementation
work class.
Or maybe the implementation may have division. That is also okay, but we are not discussing or focusing on divisions. You'll get confused. Okay. But now implementation work class is most suitable. As of now, what is the knowledge that we have? We have another type of class is called data. I will tell you that. That is most suitable. I'll tell about it later. But as of now, you
Harsha, can you mute the other members? It is getting.
There is a background noise. You should know that there is a background noise from your end. Please kindly mute. Okay. Yes. As of now, we learn or we discuss only about these levels. Okay. Everyone clear so far? Now let me tell you one point. Hold on. Someone was asking. Can you explain the difference? The difference between framework work class and AM? It is very simple. Framework work class is framework application related transaction class. For every application, by default, one transaction class is created by Pega. Framework application transaction class is framework work. Implementation application transaction class is implementation. If I create one more implementation, one application can have one or more transaction classes. Possible. Work 1, work 2, work 3, work 4, n number I can create. By default, it is giving 1. Okay. See, in order to access framework application classes, I don't need to log into framework application here. Why? By login to implementation, I have accessibility to 3 scopes, 3 levels. So that framework login which we created, I don't need to use, because by login to implementation, I can access implementation classes, implementation context, framework classes, framework context. So usually I don't use that framework ID. I log in here and do everything here on. Okay. Yes, correct. We can access built-on application classes and all here. Okay, directly because it is there created on top of it. Okay, so we will be practically working on these things starting from Monday. So still anyone is there who is yet to finish the installation process, installation of Pega software? Anyone is there? Everyone has done? Okay, I'm going to add the documents. I will take up your questions on Monday. Another worker class we can create, another division we can create, only one organization. You can have another FW, another division, another work, 10 divisions, 10 different work classes, 20 different work classes. You can create, depends on the structure of your business. Okay, tree structure of your business. So it is 8 o'clock. I'll close the meeting. We'll continue on Monday.